Congrats on getting beyond $1 million. What got you here won't always get you there. This is a podcast for entrepreneurs who want to reach beyond their 7-figure business and scale to 8, 9, and even 10 figures. I'm Brad Weimert, and as the founder of Easy Pay Direct, I have had the privilege to work with more than 30,000 businesses, allowing me to see the data behind what some of the most successful companies on the planet are doing differently. Join me each week as I dig in with experts in sales, marketing, operations, technology, and wealth building. And you'll learn some of the specific tools, tactics, and strategies that are working today in those multi-million, 8, 9, and 10-figure businesses. Life can get exciting beyond $1 million.
Well, Erik Huberman, I appreciate you coming out, man.
Yeah.
It's always great to see you.
Yeah, always good to see you.
Yeah, so we've known each other for a few years now.
Yeah.
I would say that most of the time that we've spent together actually has been at your place in Cabo at this point.
Yeah, probably.
Or snowboarding, I guess.
Or snowboarding, yeah, or random conferences.
Yeah.
I don't think either of us has seen us in our hometown.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think that's happened.
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, so I know you through that lens, but Hawke Media has been your baby, your project for several years now that you've done a pretty stellar job of growing. Can you give me a little backdrop on how that started and what you were doing before that?
Yeah, so got out of college 2008, went into real estate as a commercial real estate agent exactly a week before the entire banking industry collapsed. So that was fun.
Sweet.
Made $350 that year living in LA. That was pretty fun too. A lot of debt. And just always liked the internet. Tried to start an e-commerce company when I was 12. My dad refused to sign the seller's permit. So always had this thought of maybe I'll end up in the internet business someday. Seemed to be the right opportunity. Started an online music company. It was business coaching for musicians. Had an all-star cast of board. Had David Page from Toto, had Tom Silverman from Tommy Boy Records, a lot of really cool people that a friend of mine's dad helped me pull in. And ran that for 2 years, realized it was never going to be that big of a company. It was profitable, but not that big. And so ended up hiring a CEO for that and then leaving and starting consecutively 2 e-commerce brands, direct-to-consumer subscription companies in the fashion space, sold both one at a time. And then started advising and consulting for brands. Had built a name for myself in LA as knowing how to build these companies. And just thought after about 6 months of consulting, I couldn't believe how much bullshit was in the industry. And how 99% of agencies are full of shit. Most individual marketers don't know what they're doing. It was just it's a world where you don't necessarily need any type of certification or anything to say you're a marketer.
Yeah.
So it attracts many, many people that are bullshit. And so I wanted to I got sick of trying to vet through all these things. And then also found the ones that are good, because it's so convoluted, are really expensive. The good individuals and then agencies get really expensive, want long contracts, high minimums, something else that makes them hard to work with. And so the inaccessibility to great marketing frustrated me. Decided to hire a small team, each with their own expertise. So a Facebook marketer, email marketer, web designer, etc. Went back to these companies and said everything's a la carte, month to month, cheaper than hiring in-house. You can spin up what you need when you need it. Made it super easy. Stuck to that business model to today. It's been 7.5 years. We've got 250 full-time people. Managed marketing for about 600 brands. And just on that thesis that we've stuck to, we still work with tiny little startups through Fortune 100s.
Wow. I feel like maybe that was a scripted response.
It was more like the scene in Old School where they ask about it was the Industrial Revolution or whatever, and he sneezes and blacks out and it just goes into it. That's what just happened.
That's great. I love it. What's your role in it right now?
I'm pretty typical CEO without funding because we haven't raised any money. So I'm not doing the fundraising thing that a lot of CEOs get stuck doing, but I'm strategic. So building an exec team. We have a full exec team, but managing them, being strategic with them, figuring out diving in with my head of sales when we have a sales issue or opportunities, et cetera, or working with our head of services on ways we can be better there, and just basically helping elevate from a strategic level the whole business. Doing a lot of M&A. We've bought 6 agencies, continuing to put out offers for others. Also, we've got a venture fund, so we're doing a lot of investing. We've got a capital arm, so we're doing a lot of financing for our clients. So helping spin up things like that can build off of this platform. And then a piece of my time is promotional, being on podcasts, going to conferences and speaking, doing my own podcast. We're about to come out with our book. So the pre-launch of that is 2 weeks away for the Hawke Method. So a bunch of, just ways to continue to build the business.
Cool. Why is there an E on Hawke?
Because without the E was taken. Actually, totally true. Hawke Media without the E was taken.
That's fantastic.
When I started this, it was I have my team of, actually, when I started it, I didn't even plan on hiring people. It was just me. And I was I don't want them paying Huberman Consulting. So I'm just going to call it something so it feels like a company when my clients are paying me to advise. that's literally where it came. I didn't think I was doing anything bigger. So there was no business plan until a year after I hired people. Like, it was just like this small little like, oh yeah, I guess I'll do that. Oh yeah, I guess I'll do that.
Yeah.
So it was I still remember it, like sitting in bed at 9:00 at night on GoDaddy trying to figure out the name for my company. And just like, that's taken. Now I own both domains, but kind of like with the E. It's just like...
It's unique.
It's unique. You can trademark it. We own Hawke in the space of marketing as a trademark.
Cool.
So,
yeah. I've always wondered. I had to ask.
Yeah, that's a good question. It is, and it's as dumb as simple as you would think. It's like, really, that's the answer? Like, I wish I had some grandiose answer for the name of the company. I did realize that Hawke with an E. So growing up as a little kid, my mom taught me to tell people my name's Erik with a K, like, because it is Erik with a K. But I thought my name was Erik with a K, like one word. And so Erik with a K Huberman was my name. If you take the initials of Erik with a K Huberman and jumble around, it's Hawke with E. Oh, I noticed that after the fact. But I was like, that's kind of cool.
Dude, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So, got it. There's Hawke. I think one of the things that I find interesting and fascinating about that model is the desire to serve the full spectrum, because the needs of a business sub 1 million is different than, call it 1 to 10 or 10 to 100 or whatever, right?
Yep.
How does that change? How do you see the needs for the sub 1 million and then the, call it 1 to 50?
Yeah, sub 1 million, you're still proving traction. So you're testing a lot more. Generally, you're probably taking more risk, and not that you should be, but because you have to. You're trying to find the right places, the right messaging, the right targeting, everything for it to work. So there's a lot more risk in that sub 1 million, because maybe something's hit, you can double down on it, but generally you're still trying to figure out what's the addressable market here, what's happening. Once you're above 1 or 2 million, you've got enough traction that you can double down on it. It's really easy. And then going from 2 to whatever really comes down to the demand and addressable market. Like, from there, it's really just how big is the market of people that want this at a rate that's actually profitable. And for us, I look at marketing as like, you're really looking for the early adopters, because most people buy things because their friends told them to. Like, still to this day, like, most people are waiting to hear from a friend, like, you got to check this out. And that's where they end up doing most of their purchasing. So you need the people that don't do that. You need the people that'll see an ad or read an article and go, this is dope, I'm getting it. And there's risk to that consumer too. When they don't have validation from people they trust, they need to be willing to take that risk on buying your product or service. And you look at the adoption curve, there are a lot of early adopters out there. I forgot the percentage, but there's a significant amount. And so when you're marketing, you want to find those people that don't need that validation to buy something in the beginning. When you're not a ubiquitous brand, that's still what you're looking for, when you're still in the customer acquisition phase of your business. And so when we're marketing, we're always trying to find who are those people. And a lot of times we run into this a lot, where it's a company that's like, wants to blow out XYZ for this industry. I'm trying to think of a good idea. Like, we're going to make NFTs accessible to the masses would be a good example right now. And it's like, okay, but start with the people that already buy NFTs.
Right.
Start with the people that you don't have to educate on in a whole new industry, and start with that.
Right.
Get those going in, and they'll go tell all these other people, like, hey, I found something that's accessible. And so that's, as you said, what's the difference? In that sub 1 million, you're still trying to figure out who those people are. And the post 1 million, usually you know who those people are, and it's just about stepping on the gas.
So from a tactical perspective, lots like what was popping up in my head comes back to paid. Do you see that strategy being the same if it's paid versus organic, paid versus just, SEO plays?
So I think the bigger you get, the more you can be diverse in your marketing. Paid, for a decade, has been a way you can start a company, launch it, scale it. You can be iterative with paid. It's getting tighter, getting more competitive. There's less tracking because of iOS updates and all that. So it's not as easy to just throw money at Facebook and launch a brand anymore. And so you're having to be diverse in what that channel is. That being said, there are going to be individual brands that do really well on Facebook or on Google. And so that's still an option. So again, back to the testing a lot, you want to try these things out and come up with thesis to test against, that it's like, this could work because of XYZ. And you want to be scientific about it. You want to actually have a reason why you're going to be able to compete on these channels. And it can't just be because I have a cool product or service. Like, everyone's got a cool product or service. It's like, why you specifically are going to stand out on this channel, and figure that out. Because if not, you're just competing with everyone else. And it's a very democratized, like, level playing field now. So everybody, like, how it works is a bidding system. So the person willing to spend the most gets the share of ads, so to speak. And they have their full funnels built. Like the people that are willing to spend the most on ads, actually the people that are spending the most are the ones that have ubiquitous distribution. P&G, Unilever, like their stuff is anywhere. So they advertise to you knowing that the next time you're in the supermarket, you're going to buy their toilet paper. Like that's how they think, which will beat any type of customer acquisition focused campaign all day because they have such a wider net. Then you get into the bigger customer acquisition companies. They've got amazing funnels on email and SMS and content, all these things, and a great merchandising strategy to bring their people back in. So they're betting on lifetime value and how long over the course of 3 years, how much that person's going to spend, or 5 years, whatever their number is. And then you've got this new startup that needs that money to come in next month.
Right.
And so when that's the field of competition, you've got to have something really fucking compelling to compete with that kind of number on a few month turnaround, which you need to when you're a startup. You can't afford to wait years for your returns. So so when it comes to advertising, I think you're dealing a lot with that. So it's really just figuring out that mix strategically that you might have an edge or do have an amazing product or service that stands out that much to your specific early adopter.
Yeah. What does that look like? Presumably you need that sub 1.
Yeah.
Just like you need it 1 to 50 or 1 to 10, right? What's the difference in how you would approach that once you pass? And it could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 4 million, right?
Yeah, and it's what it is. It
depends on the industry, et cetera.
Sub 1, you're probably going a little, in terms of targeting and messaging, you're going wider. You're trying many different things. Once you're post 1, and that's probably about right, is about post 1 million, maybe even before that, high 6 figures, you probably have something that's working that you can double down on. And then it becomes, you're putting 80% into the shit that works and then playing with 20% on testing new stuff to maybe scale off that. And then as you scale, that goes down to like 10% because so much is working. You got to keep that engine going. You're not testing with as much of your budget, so to speak.
I like that. Has there been anything, there's been a lot of things, but can you think of anything that in the last year or 18 months, I like to say that we're post-COVID.
Sure. I hope so.
But are there things in the last, let's call it post-COVID, post-COVID era where you're like, oh, this is working now. And it was surprising to me, or it's different, it's a shift. This is a thing now that seems to be working.
Yeah, a few things. I don't know if it's working for marketing yet, but I think it's really fascinating that Oculus sold out. VR had almost no adoption. And like pre-COVID, there were 3 million headsets sold in the world in VR. It's a big world. That's really disappointing with how big of an industry we've heard about this thing for a decade.
Yeah.
And then Facebook couldn't even keep up with Oculus too. So that's an interesting space. I'm not sure if it lasts or not, but that might have been just COVID caused. Kind of like some of the platform like Clubhouse. Like literally boom, bam. And I hope they figure it out. I really like the people there on the platform, but like it was crazy for like 3 months. And then the moment the world kind of opened, it's a ghost town.
Yeah.
And so it's been interesting to see the opposite of what you just asked, which is like what went negative and was just a COVID phenomena. But what did happen was consumer purchasing went from 13% online and 87% in brick and mortar to 30% online and 70% in brick and mortar. That was Q2 last year, like peak. But then it just subsided to like 25%. So we have double the market share online now. So that means it's going to support way more innovation. Every brand's going to go more online because when it's 13%, you can ignore it. Like you actually can. If you're a big brand and you're making most of your money on one and you find out that 13% of people are buying online and half of that's being done on Amazon, it's like, maybe I'll chase that.
Yeah.
But now it's significant. And so I think you're going to see a lot more big brands moving into it and a lot more innovation happening around the space. But you're seeing more competition. So it's harder, but also way more market share. So if you can capture it, you can do really well. So what happened with this shift in Q2 of last year, so many companies froze up and got scared. Advertising costs dropped 30%. And many, many competitors shut down their marketing. That's why it dropped 30%. But so many people got out of the way. The people that leaned into it skyrocketed. Our average client in Q2 of last year doubled their revenue in just Q2 of last year.
Wow.
Because we mostly work with e-com.
That was Q2 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heart of COVID.
Yeah.
Because everybody was stuck at home and buying online and everyone got stimulus, which was like, as they put it, like Black Friday all over again.
Yeah.
It's, what do they say? Like people, lower and middle class spend 110% of what they make.
Yeah.
So you throw $1,500 or whatever the number was at a middle class family.
Yeah.
They spend, $1,650. So
I heard a stat, and I can't validate this in any form, but I heard a stat months ago, which was that on average over the course of the last 10 years, American adults save something like $2.3 billion savings. 2020, it was $9 billion.
Yep. Heard that stat too. I think because they dumped tons of cash into bank accounts that never had cash in them. I'd love to check that number again.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that it's still sitting there.
No, I would suspect not. But
yeah.
It also, I would assume, would be a driver for lots of things that we're seeing right now.
Yeah. The stock market, the NFT boom, the crypto thing. People have, we printed cash. And I don't know that, now I think it's probably a mistake. I actually agree with the policies that happened during COVID. It's like, we have no idea. Just at that point, you got to throw money at it because the counter is not worth it. With the information we had, I think they did a great job, which is hard to say, but you got to they threw money at something and this would be the time to do it.
So, we can't keep doing it.
No. Now it's become the new default.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, in the stimulus they had in California, I saw there was and I got to be honest, we kept all of our employees on once COVID hit. We didn't lay off anyone. And so I had my employees were making the same amount. I didn't do it. The only pay reductions we did was the senior executive team at my company took a 20% pay reduction for a few months just in case we had to do it for everyone else. We wanted to do it ourselves first. And then frankly, we ended up paying it all back the second half of the year because we didn't need to. But all my people are making the same money they made pre-COVID. And all of a sudden some of them make less than 75 grand a year. And so they're getting wired money from the government, even though they're making I was like that. And again, the first round, I get it. Just fucking throw money out of the helicopter. Yeah. You got to. Now I'm like, what? Now it's political. Now
what are we doing, Joe?
You're trying to buy votes, which is annoying. But yeah.
Big conversation, whole other thing.
Whole different thing.
Cool. So one of the things that I find horrifying is the idea of having 250 employees. So one of the things that I want to know with you is, first of all, right, you're not sitting squarely in operations, right? But talk to me about maybe the transition out, but the systems, the operational stuff around going from, call it 10 to 100.
Yeah.
How does that work for you? And what did you have to put in place? How structured was it? How chaotic did it feel? So one of the things that I find horrific about your business is having 250 employees.
Horrific.
But I think that there are these phenomenal lessons that are built in that it would serve people to understand and know before they ever get there.
Sure.
I know that currently we have a little over 20 and systems break. At what phase did you get super serious about systems, if ever? And at what phase did you rebuild them? Or did you implement sort of enterprise level systems to manage just stuff from project management to hiring to just all the things?
Yeah. To probably a fault, I've always had my business, actually not even a fault. I've mostly managed my business reactively. We have a problem, let's fix it. Not, I think this is coming in the way that we manage things. Every time we've tried to be proactive and get ahead of something, we just waste a bunch of money because it wasn't actually going to be a problem. So trying to see around a corner in some ways is important, but just being ready to move quickly when there is a problem, I think goes a lot further than implementing some massive system that you may not even need. And so you asked about when those change. First of all, I love running a people business. It's like anything. It's all perspective. Does it have problems and pain in the ass people? Absolutely. Is it also super fun to have a giant team of people that work in conjunction and get along? And even being here at the conference and having 8 people down there that are all great people hanging out, there's a lot of reward to it too. And what I did, a couple things in terms of keeping myself interested. I am not a people manager. I am not a process guy. I'm kind of the typical entrepreneurial, if any type of personality test I've taken, it's just yep, I'm that guy. And so I had a great partner that helped put in systems. And I'd say things change every time you double. So 10 to 20, 20 to 40, it's not quite those numbers. The first year we hit 17. So going from 17 to 34, we had to change our systems again. And that could mean little management layers you need, executive changes, infrastructure changes. Now you need an HR person and an HR team. Now you need executives. Now you need senior leadership. Now you need C-suite. Those are all things. And there's plenty of playbooks out there that you can follow for that. And I have seen that in my industry, it's pretty damn consistent. So it's you don't really need to reinvent the wheel. Go look at a few companies. If you're starting an agency, go look at 30 agencies in your space that are bigger than you and look at when they did certain things. And you're going to see you all kind of hit the same thing. An marketing agency business, that $10 to $20 million jump is fucking painful because you need all the infrastructure. You need senior leadership. You've got 100 people, give or take, usually, or a little less, but you're growing into that 100 plus space. So you need leadership. You need 3 layers at that point. You need leadership, then managers, then employees. You need all that cost burden. You need some infrastructure, some softwares to manage, etc. But you're not quite making enough to cover all that.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of M&A now. We look at a lot of P&Ls for agencies, and always 10 to 20 million, they start to get scared because that gap, until you can fight through it, you're really thin through that a lot of the time. There's some that jump through that or have their own nuance, but generally that's a really tough period. And so, yeah, and it really is just, and it's a combination of building out those systems and the kind of culture and everything changing every time you double. And then I wasn't like a lot of entrepreneurs. I have no control issues. Like, I really don't. It's like people say, like, you have the burden of 250 people on you. How does that weigh on you? And I'm like, I don't have the burden of 250. 250 people have the burden of 250 people. Like, what that person fucks up, they fucked up. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm responsible for coordinating and growing this thing, but like, I don't feel some burden to my salesperson that can't hit their numbers. They better hit their numbers. And so I've always felt that way. And I'm in it with them. Like, I'm down to help them. We're on the same team, but it's not on just me, is I guess the point.
Yeah.
And so I've always looked at, I want this to be scalable was always in my head. And so anytime I found myself stuck doing the same thing for a period of time, first off, I hate that. Just personally, just hate TDM, hate repetitiveness. I want to be doing new stuff. That's a big part of what drives me. So by preference, I would look for someone to hire to take that off my plate, as well as that forced it to be scalable. Because if I was focused on something I couldn't make sense hiring someone for, well, then no one should be doing it. Or I'd hire someone to continue to take things off my plate, and I'd go do new things that continue to build the company. So, and that's still true to this day.
Yeah, I love that. So 2 big things there. One, I think people that are in accelerated growth or have a lot of people around use the term scalable, and people that could internalize that as systemizing things.
Yeah.
Right. And they're synonymous in some capacity, right? But the people that are doing, $500,000 a year or $1 million a year, and they talk about scaling, it feels like cart before the horse to me, where it's like, just build some fucking systems that support you so that you can scale.
But that's where the proactive versus reactive comes in. Do you need those systems? And at $1 million, I didn't need any systems.
Interesting.
And it depends on the business. Everything's different. But $1 million, $1 million run rate, we were probably, 8, 10, 9 people. Like, my system was sitting around a conference table, was our entire office. And it was like, you handle that, you do this, I got this, da-da. And it's like, did I have a system? Sure. I had like a repetitive system I was running to build the business, but like, there was no software infrastructure. There was no operation. It was just like, we kind of had a thing we were doing and figuring it out.
Yeah. Well, the proactive versus reactive was actually the second point that I was going to hit on. So that's perfect. But there's also a consideration of, and you hit on this, type of business model. Right. It's like $1 million business as an agency. What's margin on that?
40% at them.
Okay. Well, that's actually still pretty solid.
Yeah.
But $1 million business, when you have an 8% margin, right, is a very different thing.
Correct.
Or 40 or 80% margin. Right. Like I have a good friend who has a couple $1 million a year business, and he's got like a 92% margin. Yeah. And he's like a 1-person show. Yeah. Well, that's a very different thing.
Correct.
Right?
And you can build that. I had this conversation. Someone was asking me today, how can I build what you built? And it's like, I mean, you can do, like, we're open book. Like, this is what we did. Like, I don't really, people love to ask for secret sauce. I'm like, do good work and be good at, like what? There's nothing secret about what we do. And this guy literally told me, like, well, we do what you do, but we make our experts that work on it sell and you don't. And we're 3 times the price you are. And I'm like, okay, so you don't do what I do. Like, okay. Like, it was a really funny line. He's a nice guy, but he's literally answering his own questions. Like, how do we make it scalable like you do? We're like you, except for XYZ. I'm like, well, yeah, if you're having the person that works on the projects sell it, that means that they're having to go back and forth all the time. Like, you just said it. Like, you just said why you aren't doing what we're doing. So, and my response to that, which is what goes back to what you're saying, build the business you want to build. Like, I don't want to build a one-man show doing 92% margins. That's a great fucking business, and that person's, I'm sure, stoked on it. But it was not what I set out to build. Like, what excites me is a multinational, teams all over the world. We just closed an acquisition in Canada, officially making us international, and now we're working on Europe and Asia. All these different, spinning tons of plates, doing all these things, working with tons of people. Like, I love that. Yeah. So I'm going to build that. Yeah. But as you said, it sounds, I think horrendous was the word you used.
Horrific.
Horrific. Thank you. So that sounds horrific to you. So don't do that. Like, that excites me. It doesn't excite you. So build a business that suits you as the entrepreneur. I think the most important thing is to, build it for yourself. Like build it that you want to keep it and run it, enjoy it.
I love that. I think that a great friend of mine a long time ago told me that there is no right or wrong. There are actions and outcomes. There's no good or bad. There are actions and outcomes. Things are the actions either getting you closer or further away from the outcome that you're after. That's it. Relatively speaking, you could then put the labels of good or bad, right, wrong on them. Actions and outcomes. And I think that the clarity of, no, this is what I'm trying to build is really valuable. And it's also very valuable in the context of life when friends, family, peers, etc., critique. It's like, no, but this is the thing I'm doing. I'm just doing me. Don't worry about it.
No, I mean, we're month to month, but every great, brilliant advisor I had, including my own dad, like all these people around me that are incredibly successful business people, told me that was the dumbest thing I could possibly do. Like month to month will never work. No one's going to buy you, which turns out I don't want to sell, so that helps. But you'll never be able to sustain a scaled business on that because you can't rely on the revenue. And I had come from running consumer brands where it's like, no one gave me a contract to buy pants for a year. Like, I just had to sell as I don't know what you're talking about. Like, my ignorance helped me, but I ignored that. And I was like, well, I know something you don't. And I'm like, I know you guys are smart, but I feel like I have a context you don't. And thank God I stuck to my guns. Now, that being said, it could have gone the other way.
Sure.
Because there's other things I've done in my business that I'm like, oh, that's why they all do that. Oops.
Yeah.
Like at scale, you start to realize like that's the reason why all these other agencies do certain things. Like, we need that too now.
Yeah, the flip side of that too, though, is that I was just talking to somebody earlier today, and he said one of the questions he gets all the time is, how do I start? Like, what's an easy business to start? And he goes, I don't fucking know. I start hard businesses because he wants the barrier to entry.
Exactly.
Right?
Easy business to start is drop shipping.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's also an easy business to lose. To collapse.
Exactly. And that's why I point to that is it's not a good business. No good business is easy.
Right.
Because exactly what you just said, the barrier to entry. If it's easy, then it's not a good business by nature.
Yeah. Well, where I was going was that when you say, we found these things that, like the contracts, right? Well, everybody has contracts. Sometimes in businesses, that model persists for a long time because it's the easier path. And when somebody can figure out the more difficult month to month, man, they fuck up the industry. And then the contract becomes, it's gone. It's no longer part of the game because you can't compete with a contract when somebody's going month to month.
And in the true, like on that detail, the reason we've been able to do it is because we started that way. Frankly, you do end up with, we cohort it where a percentage of our business, a small percent, but a percent is a revolving door. People that never sign with us for a month, never had the budget, never intended because we're month to month. They go, whatever, let's hire them for a month. Screw this. Like we get that. Most agencies aren't built to have that type of churn happening. So they don't know what to do with it and collapse them. For us, we just know that that's part of it. So we've built our infrastructure in a way that we know that a piece of our business is going to churn in the first few months. Most of it's sticky as hell and ends up mimicking every other agency. But there's this small cohort that we know always exists. And at scale, those statistics play out so we can actually bet on what percentage of that is. And then what we did is balance a sales and marketing team to replace that business, that piece of it. So we kind of keep that revolving door going, which for us, we kind of call the top of the funnel. Where it's like, that's actually our top of the funnel, is that first few months we see if we keep them or not. Most agencies couldn't even pivot to do that because they're in the way they've built their infrastructure. That would never make sense.
Yeah. Because they're assigning a team that's committing resources for a longer period of time.
And they don't have the sales and marketing engine we have. It's a lot of pieces that you have to be able to replace that cohort every month.
Right.
Because we do, if you take out the first 3 month churn in our business, I think our average retention's 15, 16 months. But with it cuts that in half. There's a lot of 1 month. There's 5% of our business or something. It's 1-2 months. A lot of that's project work too. It's not just churn, but there's a lot of people that come in that see our tagline and see the fact that we're month to month and a la carte. And they go, great. We tell them it's going to take months to get it going. They don't care. And so it's a small percentage of our overall business, but it is a percentage. And so we can afford to deal with that. Whereas what most agencies do is go 3 month minimum, 6 month minimum, 1 year minimum to try to weed those out. We go, don't weed them out. Just build a business so we can afford to take those. And if they churn out, they churn out. So
yeah, that's interesting, man. What are you working on right now? What do you want people to pay attention to? What are you excited about?
Excited. Launching our book in a couple weeks. So September 27th, our pre-sale for our book is coming out. It's going to officially go out February 15th. So hawkemethod.com.
Awesome.
So that'll be great. Podcast has been really fun. Our podcast is Hawke Talk. It's on
With an E.
Yep, exactly. HAWKE on Spotify and iTunes. We just opened in Canada, so threw my my exec team into the deep end on how to run an international business overnight. Totally intended to do that. Told them it was coming, but now we're doing it. It's like our payroll system doesn't allow us to pay Canadians apparently. So we knew, but again, like we knew we have backup plans for all this, so nothing's going to collapse. But the point was to do this because we knew things would come up that we're like, let's work through how to do all this stuff so we can start to really expand. And then we just hired an amazing new COO named Dan Bedell that started a couple weeks ago. Super excited because it's the first C-suite we've hired. Came from an agency 10 times our size, is hyper respected there. I actually had when we announced it to our whole team, I told him to go look at his LinkedIn post. Just going to go down the list, announcing his leave, and all of the comments from his employees there saying how much they're going to miss him and how great he was and congratulating him.
Oh, what a good move.
Yeah, because it's nice to have a guy in the room that's going to be a leader that seems to be very well liked and loved, that's also really bright and solid. So super excited to see what it is to have like that adult that's been there, done that can help us really put the things in place to scale, because he took an agency from our size to 10 times our size. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
a lot
awesome.
of exciting things.
Well, that's a good lesson in general. I love the third-party validation of his LinkedIn post for your staff.
Well, I was shocked. I said it not like I didn't really have an agenda. He's friends with me on LinkedIn, and it popped up, and I'm like, Jesus.
Damn.
Like, I knew this guy was good, but like, wow. So I told him, I hosted our all hands last week, and I was like, hey guys, you should go look at this because you should be excited to be working with this guy.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you hanging out, man.
Yeah, no,
Looking forward to the next time. Definitely. I'll support you in any way I can for the book.
Thank you.
Definitely tell people about it, push it out there. Yeah, and I hope that next time is in Cabo.
Yeah, that's coming. We got to start working on that next trip plan.
I love it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it, man. And if you get it together, think about Antarctica.
Yeah, with Jimmy Buffett. That part actually is selling me a little bit.
Of course it is. It's amazing.
And like that was the concert my parents would take me to as a kid. I went to Jimmy Buffett 3 times when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old. So, parrot head since a little kid. Like we went to the MGM.
How can you not do this?
For him. It's a lot of
Your
money.
wife wants
I told
to
you,
go.
like my wife definitely wants to go. And for one person, it's still egregious, but it's almost acceptable. For 2 people, it's just like, I looked at them like, how? There's no way.
Yeah, there's a way.
It's that or a ski house.
Yeah. There's a way.
Yeah, there is a way. You're right. I might just convince myself I'd regret not going and maybe end up. We'll see.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, now that I know that it's in there, I'll poke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll talk to her about it.
Cool, man. I love it.
All right.
If you learned one thing on this episode, share it with another entrepreneur. They need to hear it. Also subscribe so that new episodes just show up on your phone. It's a lot easier that way. And if you want the really good stuff, check out our free BAM! Tactics and Strategies course. It's where we curate the best tips, tricks, and tools that our guests know, whether they've shared them on the podcast or not. Just go to beyondamill.com. You'll also find previous episodes and show notes at beyondamill.com.